Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the former world champion and the fastest player in the world from Team Basilisk, the Italian stallion. It's Reynor, up against the rank 1 Protoss player in the world. It's MaxPax, a best of 3 Protoss versus Zerg showdown, the new StarCraft 2 balance patch between two players with speed and with style. So all I ask you to provide is a little bit of substance for the algorithm by smashing that like button and maybe even subscribing. And Jimmy, what are we at? Quick! 1,499 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. I don't know what else I'd do in my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. Ultra love to kick things off. MaxPax slaps down a Stargate. And we're off to a bit of a macro game to start things off. MaxPax making great use, as is Reynor, as his evil alter ego, Protoss, the new Oracle. And while the Oracle itself hasn't changed, the energy recharge ability has completely changed its role. And it's taken on an even greater one. Yes, the Oracle, it might as well be called Oracle versus Zerg at this point, but with that recharge and the ability to slap 100 extra energy, get some stasis, clear out the creep, pretty much get everything done. It's like queens if they could fly. First adept scouting and looking for the drone count, as well as any other shenanigans afoot. That first adept not going to be able to see the whole base, but might as well threaten. And the best way to scout your opponent is to threaten them with getting damage done. And the second Oracle's already on the way across the map. There's simply no other option. We thought maybe at the start of this new patch, a Sentry or a Phoenix or something might be the early opener, but the Oracle just got a little bit better. And, okay, a lot of bit better. Starting out with 3 times as much energy is quite a jump. As the Adepts get all up face-checking the Queens and the Zerglings, Reynor has been well known to do some sneaky, underhanded, and incredibly well executed all-ins. And so far in this matchup on the Zerg side of things, he is very aware of how dangerous Protoss gets if you let him go for too long. Or really at all. So he does his best to end it before we get to that stage of the game. Whereas as Protoss, he's clearly very adept, puns intended, at building up that later game composition. First Oracle. So one thing we've seen changed is the Oracles no longer really sacrificing themselves to burn away a couple drones. With the Queens costing a few more minerals and Spore Crawlers doing a little more damage, that early Oracle harass has been relegated to mostly aggressive scouting. As we see here out of MaxPax, he recharged. I guess charged for the first time, but pedantic. Oracle. I say that, and then, well, we see the extent of it. The Oracle doing enough damage, and now the stasis will instead be the choice. Triggers on a drone, offers itself up. Will make it invulnerable to further Oracle attacks. For a while, yeah, it's so. The Twilight and the Forge already slapped down behind. The Shady Bunch headed out from the third. And Reynor actually has 16 lings. This is quite a risky endeavor out of MaxPax, but he does have the Oracle to cover. He's out of range of the Queens. The Lings are actually going across the map because why put out the fire when you can start another one? The Zerglings in the third base completely evaded the Oracles and will kill several probes. 4, 5, 6, 7 probes to start things out. And MaxPax was halfway to coming back before he realized this was happening. So Reynor, with an unmitigated victory, rips away the pylon, all the probes at the base, and he has enough Lings back at home to deal with any sort of adept follow-up and might be able to catch them on the field. The only one Oracle still has energy. They're both lit up because it costs more to turn them off and on again than just leave them on for a while. Just like your mom said with the lights. But give her a call. Adept still sharking in with the Oracle overhead. The still relatively safe from the Zerglings, but the Zerglings gonna try the same trick twice. A few Stalkers are not enough to stop the Zerglings from getting a wraparound, and Reynor actually decides to trade. Gets a couple Stalkers, gets burned away, but now up to 64 drones and counting. The lair's nearly completed. We made the mistake of going to the Reynor cam for a moment. I apologize to my epileptic fans out there. But I'm gonna have to apologize again because I want to see what we're dealing with. Now, Zerglings rip away one adept. The rest are recalled out. Oracles into the main infestation pit starts. Roaches in production, but already speed running. Sprinting up towards very likely lurkers at this point. He's got a Hydralisk Den on the way. Meanwhile, MaxPax, he took some damage, but really that just blunted the opportunity to do a follow-up blink attack and get any real damage done. Reynor, for better or worse, may have shoehorned MaxPax into hardening his shell and trying to set up that late-game army. Of course, Reynor's going to have a decent economic advantage. He's going to have the production. He's going to have the tech. He has all the tools he needs. But some might argue that there is no tool in the Zerg arsenal to deal with a well-controlled late-game Protoss army. With the mothership being unabductable, with storms coming on demand, not just one but two with energy recharge, it becomes very difficult. Oh, MaxPax. So if you queue up... Oh, it doesn't really matter there, but if you queue up the buildings that are technically walled off, the probe will teleport out. But you have to shift queue it, otherwise the probe will trap itself in. One of the quirks of Protoss. As MaxPax builds the wall, he knows the Zerg aren't sending their best. Unless you think Zerglings are their best, and personally. Oh my. Zerglings boxed in. He actually tries... Oh my god! He successfully blink force fielded. Actually trapped every Zergling in that tried to escape from that stasis. What a play by MaxPax. Move over, Shakespeare. MaxPax is making the plays now, but... And here it is. 8 minutes in. The beacon is lit as MaxPax calls to the Sky Toss for aid. And a mothership at the very least will certainly answer. Reynor already at the gates, though. The queens are gathering. Brenda, Susan, Lucy, Patricia, where's Karen? You know what? It's all right without Karen. We can work without Karen. That'll be less stressful for everyone. Oh my! Sorry. Meanwhile, the queens stop right there. Criminal scum. Some might argue they're moving at the same speed, but the stasis manages to take a few down. The storms catching the Zerglings between a rock and a hard place, but the lurkers are ripping through. Reynor just trickling the lings in. Charge lock counterattack already working across. Lurkers dunking their faces down, and this base is well set up, but the queens, as well as the lurkers, can easily rip through it. There's no defenses against the zealots back at home. Reynor had some roaches and lings in reserve, but they weren't quite in location. Loses 4 drones, won't be mining for a little while at least. No transfuses if they're off the creep. They got to tiptoe right back onto it. But the lurkers are moving through. Another infestation pit is on the way. I have no idea what he meant that to be. Wait, did he not have... These are not hive-tech lurkers. These are stock lurkers here. Oh, this is like seeing a unicorn, but a unicorn with 3 legs and is really struggling to move forward. A unicorn nonetheless, as the timing is the most important part, and there's nothing here to really outrange it. MaxPax didn't have a robo, he doesn't have a mothership, and that means the lurkers are going to be able to carve apart this third nexus. Take apart that well-designed setup that MaxPax had so carefully put together, and now put Reynor in a comfortable... Well, I was about to say comfortable position going into Hive Tech, but he doesn't have Hive and he's down 12 workers, so I'm going to have to revise that statement into, Second Stargate is on the way. More zealots cleaned up. MaxPax actually hard supply blocked after losing a whole heap and helping of Nexi and of pylons, which he must construct an additional amount of. The Templar nearly full of energy. And, well, the army is mostly Templar. Tempest coming out as well. Mothership has arrived, and is there a single overseer on the field? Oh, no. Active cloaking, time warp, and the Zerg. Oh, we can't see shit. There is no vision at all. The only thing you can fight is the mothership, and the queens succeeding you. Knocks it to the ground, and you know, that was maybe a bit ambitious. Just because he couldn't see it doesn't mean he couldn't see the mothership with something of that magnitude. The storms, apocalyptic, the zealots on the backside, the hydras slicing into the natural, and Immortal getting caught Multiple oracles. One gets knocked down. Immortal backs off. Recalls back Templar, I believe from the third base. Reynor is knocking on the door, and MaxPax barely has an answer. He's still doing some counterattacks. Reynor does not have an overwhelming economy. In fact, he's just now finishing the hive. The Queen! Take it out from downtown. Another revelation. MaxPax incredibly calm under this level of excruciating pressure. And so far, he's holding on by the skin of his non-existent Protoss teeth. The hive is done. Lurker range can and needs to start now. The Cyber Core is taken out. No more Stalkers. No air upgrades. Not that he had any in the first place, but another Cyber Core was already built. The Queens are thinning out. Reynor maintains a 25 supply lead. But the Tempests continue to grow in number, and he still is not upgrading Lurker range. But he's breaking into the buildings. There's only 4 gates, 2 star gates, and a Robo remaining. That's just not enough production to easily throw this back, though he still has something resembling an economy. Lurker range begins. The Queens continue to move. We've arrived! Oh, okay, Brenda, we've been here a while, but dramatic effect! 14 probes dead. And MaxPax continues to bleed out. The Nexus is dead. Another ship has arrived. And the Lurkers will finally be driven back after almost certainly accomplishing their main objective of knocking out that base. But MaxPax is not dead yet. Reynor has 69, a nice amount of drones in order to progress forward. But he's only had 4 bases. MaxPax, if he's able to clear up this single Lurker, which has brought the Nexus into the orange in the bottom right corner. And he's in a pretty okay spot. No adrenal glands on the way. The mothership as well as a bunch of Templar, but here comes Reynor again. The creep spread is extended onto MaxPax's front lawn. There are probes with the army, kind of not so subtly indicating the level of panic that MaxPax had. Not realizing that a not insignificant portion of his economy is just kind of hanging out with the army. Got hotkeyed in there at some point. Carriers in production. A Spire is on the way as MaxPax realizes the only way, or as Reynor realizes, the only way he can get severely behind is by continuing to fight into Sky Toss without any options. Hydras only pretend to be an anti-air unit. Queens are legitimately one, but have their own vulnerabilities, like self-esteem and hitbox size. And also just generally overall DPS density. But 9 Dropper Lords are on the way. This is a very Reynor answer to things. Instead of pulling back and playing defensively, he's going to find another way in. And the Queens will be loaded up in their bulbous chauffeurs. Another way. He's going to have a dozen Dropper Lords, Lurkers, and Queens, and Hydras, oh my. MaxPax, to his incredible amount of credit, 1, is still in the game for the first part, and 2, is nearly at 200 supply, but Reynor is now maxed out. He has some money in the bank. He's working on Nanomuscular Swell, the Hydra Lunge, and MaxPax has absolutely no vision of this at all. He has no idea this is coming. And that's not one of those happy surprises. If the Queens drop out alongside an entire... It's impossible to tell how much is even under there. He's dropping the creep. He's ripping down the tech tree. The Lumberjack Zerg right now. Down goes the Fleet Beacon. The Twilight died. The Forge. I think he may have gotten the backup Cyber Core as well. And the Queens eating the brunt of it, but they can take a pounding. We've all seen that before. Meanwhile, Link's Stasis Force Field might be able to save the base, but the main, on the other hand, is crumbling. Eventually, MaxPax could clean this up, but eventually is far too long. The Zerglings will be taken out. What is MaxPax going to do next? He doesn't even have any prey. He has 1 gate and 1 robo. That's not enough. In fact, now the covering team for the extraction, Reynor got the mission completed. He didn't find a total victory, but he gutted the entire main base. He almost took out the Nexus. Not that there's many resources left here. It's mostly just probe production and a symbol at this point. But what a game. MaxPax unable to stabilize. He's at 180 supply. There is a dream here that he puts together. The lumbering death ball and rolls all the way across the map. But Reynor now has a Congress of Corruptors. He's got Lurkers covering most of the screen. He's got 18 Lurkers, 17 Corruptors. He's just going to trade. He's got to be careful of storming his own. Well, Corruptors have less HP than Tempest and Carriers, but not by that much. The Lurkers are just slicing up everything. A Ling drop in the main easily takes out the Token Stalkers. 5 more Corruptors on the way. Only +1 ranged attack and +1 Flyer Carapace. That is it for the basic upgrades for Reynor. That is it. He is much more focused on substance here. On quantity over quality. He does have all your basic upgrades. You got your Lurker range, burrow speed, Adepts. Adepts still going. Lurkers diving into the natural and eviscerating another immortal. The Corruptors are zoning out the air army. There are Void Rays on the way. Which is all he could build because he lost a fleet. I guess he could try Oracles, but Phoenixes aren't going to get the job done either. Adrenal glands closing in. And MaxPax has held on. But I see very little path to victory. He's making, as soon as the fleet beacon finished, he makes Tempest again. A Viper on the way. Reynor begrudgingly acknowledging that in order to finally break this army, that he may have to break his principles of no spell. You know, actually, he didn't make, unless we count queens, which we should, but we won't. Reynor has not made a single spell cast. No Vipers, no Infestors. He only built 1 Viper as well, so I'm not even entirely sure it was intentional. 1 Viper for Parasitic Bomb may be the option. Just add that additional damage. All right, it looks, well, it's here now. So either way. The Zergling's gonna take out the Templar Archives. That thing seems important. And it feels like MaxPax has resigned himself, not yet literally, but to hoping Reynor breaks against the cannons and the Templar and somehow runs out of money, so MaxPax can do some sort of critical death ball counterattack. Feedbacks. I think he only hit Overseers, which is why you include a lot of Overseers in this composition, besides detection. The Storm's softening up more Corruptors. I love this set, like an Archon, a Templar, a Stasis. When you need defense on a budget. MaxPax slowly chipping away, carving out the Lurkers. And that budget defense, it worked perfectly. Between the Templar, Archon, and Stasis, nothing dies, and the Zerglings are thrown back. But Reynor now, again, begrudgingly getting +2 ranged attack. This base is just, again, any other Protoss, I think, is dead for 10 minutes. Which means MaxPax will be dead in just a few. Reynor has gotten the job done. This is not a scenario where Reynor's fighting against the economic clock. He still has thousands of minerals and gas in the bank and accessible on the map. He's still mining from 3 bases. He could probably take 2 more without MaxPax having a chance at it. So MaxPax, it's hard to really gauge. I think Reynor just now remembered that Hydra ability exists. He's had it for like 5 minutes. The swell. More pylons on the way, but MaxPax is getting dismantled, cut to pieces by the Lurker. The unupgraded Lurker attack. That is, like, it's such a brute force approach. That worked perfectly because MaxPax was trying to jump up to Fleet Beacon just a little too quickly. He didn't have enough on the ground. He didn't have Immortals. Immortals are pretty much required. The reason they got nerfed ostensibly, like they cost less minerals but have less attack speed, is because of countering this unit composition. The Lurkers, for the most part. I mean, their nerf also has effects in other matchups, but I digress. So, with no Immortals, the Immortals are not very effective at all. And Reynor taking full advantage. He found his timing. This is honestly the most advanced, but still low-tech timing I've seen from him recently. And it worked near perfect. Obviously not perfectly. MaxPax is still in the game. We're 22 minutes in. But breaking this army composition is very difficult. It's an arduous process. MaxPax almost... Honestly, this is almost bad-mannered here. But Reynor has gotten impatient before against MaxPax and lost games that were a little closer than this one. But not this one. Reynor claims GG. A methodical process off a blitzkrieg assault that MaxPax just completely underprepared for. He had such a meticulous setup. He's like, oh, I got my cannon here, got my pylons here, got my gateways here, and Reynor's just like, no! No. And, a decisive dismantling. Do I think that sort of strategy will work again? Unlikely. At least in this series. It's one of those you use once, and then they adapt. But just because he's done it now, MaxPax is somewhat limited. Like, MaxPax can no longer speed up to Sky Toss without risking just outright dying to that sort of near all-in Zerg timing. Remember, after he took out the base, MaxPax still had 15 more workers. When you say near all... No. That was... It needed to do damage. Otherwise, Reynor brought all his queens across. The entire royal family. And it worked. Speaking of royal family, MaxPax in the bottom right. Reynor, top left, King's Cove. Not Queen's Cove. So, we will see. I had to do a double take, because I remember seeing the infestation pit. Reynor must have canceled his infestation pit early in order to execute the strongest lurker attack timing. Which 100 gas doesn't seem like a big investment, but I honestly think it's more of a matter of principle. It's like, I am so focused on this attack, I'm not even leaving myself the option to tech up. Which is usually a bad call. But at this level, you actually can commit everything. These players are so good at using everything they have. So, it's not a mistake. It was a decision. And it works out. And Reynor is probably the best at this matchup. Why? Because on both sides, he's the best. Well, actually, Protoss versus... Reynor's Protoss versus Zerg. And I'm sure we'll be seeing some in the coming days. In this same tournament, Masters Coliseum, by the way, shout out to Masters... If you're watching this within a few days of it coming out, Masters Coliseum is happening for several weeks. It's actually like a GSL-style online tournament. Group stage. Reynor has been playing Protoss against Zerg, and Zerg against Protoss. So, we have Clem and Reynor. Yes, I know, off-racing Protoss. Interesting, right? But Clem and Reynor are both now our first real biracial pros. So, our hybrids. And I kind of... We're still not at the point where, like, neither of them ever want to play PvP. Reynor has said he'd rather cut off his hand than play PvP. So, like... I don't think we're at risk of that. But we're getting there. We're getting close. Just need MaxPax to off-race his Zerg now. MaxPax is actually top 20 GM this Terran. Or 25. I forget what it was. He does off-race his Terran. Not quite at the level that Clem flips it as Protoss, but he's up there. I've never seen anyone off-race a Zerg, though. We saw that Clem versus Reynor race reversal match, which is definitely worth watching, where Reynor essentially abused mass orbitals and ghosts to make Clem rage quit, which was, I'll admit, edit this out, Jimmy, quite cathartic. He deserved that. just saying, but Oracle popped like an overripe tomato. Did I say Oracle or Overlord? Just pretend I said the right one at all times. You think you heard me misspeak? What you really heard was me testing you. Good job. Like and subscribe. Subscribe and like. I don't mind which order. Try it out. See how it feels. That Spore Crawler not feeling so good. As, oh, goes into the Evo chamber. And the reason you'll see certain buildings as the block or as something to keep your unit alive is because all buildings start with like 10% of their HP. So, like the engineering bay and the cyber core, the choice for blocking things because they build the quickest and have the most HP when you slap them down, like for cost, over a supply depot or a Spore Crawler, for example. A Spore Crawler, which has less HP than it did last patch, 400, 300. Still very good against oracles, but less amazing in the late game. Against siege units, especially. Units that the Spore Crawler can barely engage before getting taken out. Charge. And then he cancels +1? He's got to restart it, right? What? Okay. I guess he really wanted to make sure he had his adepts ready for this time. This is another scenario where MaxPax clearly prioritizing one thing over another, like Reynor with the infestation pit last game. Oracle on escort duty. Interesting adaptation here. Well, one, he's going for charge. So that's a different style entirely. And he's going to have a robo way quicker. So this is a very dangerous, yet committed timing. Because when you go for charge, you can just win the game. Like, charge slots have a lot more kill potential outright than Blink Stalkers or even Adept Glaives. But you leave yourself vulnerable both to roaches, mass roach style, and of course, as Reynor so rudely interrupting me, mutas, as you don't have any built-in anti-air like you would with Blink Stalkers, obviously. And if you don't end up scouting the Spire, you can't get Phoenixes out in time. A lot of the reason mutas are not the choice are because, one, Blink Stalkers are just a kind of built-in counter, and two, when they get scouted, you can build Phoenixes, which technically can counter an infinite amount of mutas, though practically not so much. But inspired here. He realized the charge, certainly. There's going to be Archons, though. Already roaches. No roach speed on the way at all. I don't think he realizes the magnitude of units he's dealing with at the moment. And what he doesn't know can certainly hurt him. Spores at the back. Starts roach speed. Better late than never. The Queen's pulled off the line. And that Warp Prism, dangerously close. Force Field, not a single Ravager in the composition. So much in production right now for Reynor, but not yet delivered. Gonna try to fight outright. That Queen, target the, take it down! Oh my God, Brenda, you're so shrill. The Zerglings trying to break through. Warp Prism gets away just barely. And the Zerglings at the natural will force it back. So MaxPax trades a lot of that army and some map position in order to take out the fourth. 8 mutas on the way. I don't know. I don't know if that was worth it. Like, a hatchery, especially nowadays, only 275 minerals. Of course, more important, the actual mining and production. But Reynor now has the knowledge of what he's dealing with. He's already put together a response preemptively. He's already got the mutas out on the field. And, he's not building anymore. I think they're just going to be timing mutas. The ones that force a response, and then you try to sideswipe them with roaches before they can stabilize. Banelingness. Infestation Pit. +2 melee. But Storm, Blink, and +2 ground weapons for the Protoss simultaneously. So both sides scaling up with dramatic economies, but MaxPax completely blindsided by the mutas. Has no defenses at the natural. Gonna lose half a dozen probes to start, and that's just the beginning. 2 more hatcheries on the way for Reynor. Storm is nearly complete, 5 seconds out. And more, he's actually got an Archon drop to chase. No cancel on the Nexus. The Archon's chasing. Small counterattack Zealots on the other side. Oracle's light up, trying to come up the ramp. The Storms are good and ward away the roaches to start. But Reynor has already done a lot of damage. A dozen probes, knocks out the 4th, clears out a position for his 4th and 5th bases himself, has a Hive and a Hydra Den on the way, and is going to throw a couple more mutas onto the fire. Baneling Nest as well. Upgrading Baneling speed, going for that sort of knockout blow of Zerg units. Such a distinctly different style than Cyril. Reynor has always been kind of a, not really an anti-Cyril, but like the cooler Cyril. Alright, Cyril is the straight-laced, this is how you're supposed to play. And Reynor is like, yeah, but this is the fun way to play. Sometimes, many times, to his detriment. But other times, well, all right. Now Hive Tech coming online. Lurker Den in production. +1. Wow, Reynor has +2 melee and is working on +1 range. It's not like MaxPax is huge on upgrades either. About to finish +2 ground weapons. He's got some Phoenixes in production, and MaxPax again has weathered with Storm. He's held on, though the economy is tenuous at best, and the mutas are going to try to skew that line just a bit more. The Phoenixes doing their, well, actually just standing back. Honestly, with less than 3 or 4 of them, it's a real risky business, as Reynor trying to fight him heads up. The shield battery working out surprisingly well. Phoenix is getting taken out of the sky. More probes going to die as well. The mutas, a very key part of unlocking a great position in this game. And they will be taken down. But I can say for the first time in quite a while, against Protoss, these mutas have been successful. They've killed the overwhelming majority of 31 probes. They have shut down any sort of map control for MaxPax. They have opened up an opportunity to knock out the 4th base. They've carved out the space for a huge high-tech economy for Reynor. But MaxPax is now working on his fleet beacon. He's got Immortals in production. He's got +1 air weapons and +3 on the ground. So we're still going to the late game. And it's up to Reynor at this stage to decide how he's going to handle it. He has the drones, he has the bank, he has the production. But the closer MaxPax gets to 200 supply, the harder it gets to actually break that army, as we saw last game. Seismic spines completed. Lurker range, for those of us that don't like to use fancy words. Nanomuscular swell. Hydra slurge is actually not on the way. He's working on muscular augments. Hydra speed. Oh, big warping in the main. And actually slurps up a couple zealots to drop him out. Get off my creep! That warp prism finally gets taken down. The storms! Just a broadside across the lurkers. And a lot of them softened up moving forward. So far, MaxPax with a solid defense. And I don't know if lurkers are going to be enough to break through. He's got 5 Immortals, 4 Archons, and an angry amount of Templar. And that's not even the main, that's not even the majority of the army. The rest is headed up to the north. MaxPax is so good at creating these small yet incredibly powerful armies. and allowing him to free up supply to actually do a counterattack. Reynor has a bunch of Roach Lang and a few Hydras. The revelations are good. There's a lot here. Uses energy recharge. Storm still softening things up on the front line. In fact, a lot of the Overseers are badly bruised as well, which could open up an opportunity for the impending mothership. +1 air weapons. +2 missile attacks. Groovy spines. Those Hydra upgrades done. Reynor's maxed out. MaxPax is coming back with his main army. You can see it on the minimap. The siege will continue. Lurkers continue to move forward. Tempest. He's actually going to give up the Nexus. Kind of surprising at that, but the storms melting even more Zerglings. Oh, catching? No. Who's catching what? 122 supply across the board. MaxPax nearly maxed out, and it's time for him to pack his bags and head somewhere else. He gave up the 4th base off to the side in order to get the one down the center. As at this point, choke points favor the Lurkers. With a maxed out Immortal Archon army, you actually want an open field in order to be able to mitigate the Lurker spies. So MaxPax would rather have this wide open area than that tiny choke point. And Reynor, actually, that's not enough Lurkers. That is not enough Lurkers. There's another army to the north side that MaxPax is contending with, but he could crush these Lurkers. The mothership is here. Oh, that's what he was waiting for. Is he actually going to give up the base? That's crazy. MaxPax. He's going to give up the Nexus. Really? I really thought he could just crush those Lurkers outright. But instead of even risking a single extra Tempest. Wow. That confident... Well, I have to say confidence. MaxPax has played this entire series confidently. He hasn't won, but I don't think he's just panicking and giving up the Nexus because he didn't know what to do. That was a clear choice to give up the Nexus instead of even try to engage the army. It's a bold move. We'll see if it pays off. We got double Nidus network for Reynor. More Lurkers on the way. How many Lurkers? 23. The Mutas are still alive. Where are they? Oh, the Mutas are patrolling for prisms. Which, smart move. 3 Mutas. That's most of their purpose at this point. Oh, quite a gamble from MaxPax to, like, outright give up his economy. But he's at 200 supply. So, are there any Vipers? No. 23 Lurkers. The anti-air is only 13 Hydras. Ultralisk Cavern is on the way. Double Nidus in the main. And there's... Oh, the mothership might be enough. MaxPax kept enough at home. I love the aggressive defense now on the field. Immortals... Wow, he actually brought back his secondary army. Oh, the Hydra Slurch. And he's gonna knock out several Tempests. MaxPax getting too big for his britches there. 17 more Hydralisks on the way. The Nidus is off to the left flank. Or just one, but... MaxPax has reestablished a 4th, working on a 5th. Reynor at only 65 drones, but he has access to fresh mining bases. He's working on chitinous plating for Ultralisks. The Lurkers kind of caught here. Might need that escape Nidus. He needs to get out of there. Yeah, the Lurkers decide not to go into the Nidus. He's using this as bait. And he's going to try to pincer. But this Protoss army... Well, the Templar are mostly taken out. The Archons will slip away. Oracle taken down as well. Costly fight for both sides, but Reynor can replenish more quickly. 3 carriers in production. Oh, lurches forward. Mothership. gliding overhead. And Reynor, it feels like he wants to do the ultra finishing move, where you come in from the top rope with a dozen ultras and use them. Like, you will lose the ultras in an extended fight. The idea is, though, you cleave through the Templar. If you get rid of the Templar, the rest of the army can crumble to more conventional units. The Templar are everything. Without them, much easier to dismantle this Protoss army. He's getting ultra speed. The lurker count is still kind of intensely high. He's got 22 lurkers, 25 hydralisks. How many oracles? There are no more oracles. No more oracles for MaxPax. You may want to revisit that. Observers are good, but they're also fragile creatures. Oracles are also fragile creatures, but Revelation is a bit more reliable. Mothership gliding into position. Carriers have arrived. Oh! Reynor doesn't even get one. But where are the Templar? Who's flanking who? That's a lot of Oh, no. The storms close in, and the Hydras will evaporate. Reynor, his bank, he just built 6 Ultras. And as Hydra once said, when I'm really far ahead and I want to lose, I build Ultras. I can't help but feel like this is not the timing for Ultras. He's up against 6 Immortals. There's still 6 High Templar. Oh, what are you doing? Well, the Archon count just got whittled down pretty dramatically. But MaxPax has almost evened up the income. His bank is similar. Mass Ultralisk seems like a inflatable 2-man level response of, all right, Ultras it is. And I am a big... He's positioning for the tactical recall here. Try to force the lurkers over to the right flank and then use the mothership recall to drag the main army forward. Is he gonna go out of vision first? He's as soon as he sees lurkers, he's going to recall out. Like, as soon as he can get the lurkers out of position. Or he could just kill them, which is also out of position. Meanwhile, mass recall into the natural on top of the tech as well. How the turntables have turned compared to last game, as now DJ MaxPax is dropping the base. +3 melee attacks will finish just barely, but will he be able to execute any melee attacks against this army? He's completely chopping down the tech tree. Down goes, I believe, the Ultralisk Cavern, multiple Evo chambers, the Hydra and Lurker dens. And then he recalls the whole thing. They'll expect some of us in the wreckage, brothers. A full energy Templar and an Immortal somehow got left out of the recall, which is the start of probably a dramatic spin-off movie, but we'll have to come back to that. I'm thinking like a Guardians of the Galaxy or something like that. Well, let's go. The spider. Meanwhile, the Ultras are closing in a massive surround. Fungal's on top of everything. Time Warp will ward away the front line. The Ultras distracted by the cannons. More storms. Hydra. Oh my. The supply plummeted. At the end there, MaxPax up by 100. The choice to sacrifice the Nexus and keep the army intact, clearly paying off. It took some time, almost exactly the same amount of time in this game as the last one. But MaxPax understands what he needs, and Reynor unable to break it apart. We're all tied up. The mutas really looked like a solid option. Honestly, I wouldn't have minded maybe a bit more. But it's so hard to commit. Even Reynor won't commit to mass muta, as that is the quickest way, even quicker than Ultras, to throw away your entire bank in literal seconds. So, Game 3, ley lines. All tied up, match point. Other dramatic statements. Like and subscribe. Doing the 15-15. The new math on the hatch math. That's all the rage. Because the hatcheries are slightly cheaper. Means you can get that first hatchery, the natchery, down the ramp just a little bit quicker. And usually well before, like, MaxPax sent this probe off of Pylon. And that likely, during a more conventional last patch, and with the more conventional, like, 16 or 17 hatch, easily would have been there in time to block. But you sacrifice getting that Overlord early. You're not going to have quite as many drones, but the safety and security that a natchery gives you. That feeling of not having to slow walk your queens, or get your drones picked off, or just general tomfoolery that the Protoss are explicitly trying to encourage. That feeling is priceless. Or at least worth a few hundred minerals. So, as a Zerg, I would take 2-3 less drones for a hatchery at my natural every time. And that seems to be the thought process for the vast majority of Zergs now as well. Interesting, Reynor is actually just following the probe. Not letting it do its flirtatious mining to try to bounce a couple off. Ah, yes. Here we are. Those minerals. So the probe comes up to the minerals and sticks out its laser tongue like, hey, minerals, how are you doing tonight? And the minerals are like, oh. And then a drone comes up to mine at the same time, and the minerals like, hey, I'm a little busy right now. But, of course, the probe just teases the minerals over and over and tries to convince it. And that kind of AI feeling of, you should go mine somewhere else is what they're encouraging. And if you do it perfectly and don't mess up your build, you can deny them dozens of minerals. Like 20, maybe. And it's kind of annoying to look at. It's one of those tiny things that literally, if you're perfect on your build and have done it thousands of times this month, you could probably spend time doing. But otherwise, let's just stick to normal scouting. Probe is dead. The Zerglings will get revenge.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
But the third base slightly delayed. Is there a star? Of course there's a Stargate. Don't be silly. We could have probably started the game at this point and nobody would have noticed the difference. As is customary. Now, I will say, just a more meta commentary. It's not so much Protoss doesn't have options. And Protoss is outright bad, obviously. It's just the major sticking point is how it seems like Protoss only has one option. In both Protoss versus Terran and Protoss versus Zerg. Yes, there are exceptions, like crazy all-in wild card builds. But if you want to have any sort of consistency, Stargate against Zerg, Blink against Terran. Those are your option. We'll see how it shakes out, but so far, recently that meta has only been reinforced as opposed to diversified. Even with new maps and a new patch, they've just kind of solidified instead. Oracle, I'm gonna make sure that Spore Crawler doesn't solidify. Another one. Actually kills both outright. So the drone's dead as well. Twilight and Forge behind. Second Oracle headed for the main. Oracle can't decide what it wants. Gonna burn away a Spore Crawler. Or, sorry, Creep Tumor. All Zerg look like to me. Sorry, I'm one-third Zerg myself. We'll see what's coming out of that Twilight Forge. Reynor again, kind of unsurprisingly going with the melee upgrades, giving you a lot of opportunity to get damage early at the cost of a slightly worse economy. You just can't get as many... When you're using all your larvae and zerglings, you're not building as many drones. All right, I'm a mathematician, and the numbers don't lie. Shady bunch. Not too many adepts, no glaives, and Reynor again gets in with the zerglings. Gonna take out 4 or 5 probes, and even a couple adepts here, optimistically warping in. He actually had to recall the entire army, including the adepts. MaxPax caught out of position. Reynor with the zergling counterattacks that essentially defined him when he first came onto the scene. Just finding that exact timing to get in with the lings and really undercut anything MaxPax wants to follow it up with. And that allows Reynor not only to get damage done, but his 4th base is pretty safe to finish up as well. The oracles have been pushed back. Reynor going to have 60 plus drones. His lair is complete. Is this a Hydra time? He hasn't committed to any lair tech. Infestation pit. Wow. That is very quick. Could it be Swarm House? There's going to be Blink on the way, but like I said, MaxPax kind of undercut. There's already +1 melee lings, which are a strong counter to a limited Blink timing like this one. He doesn't even have Blink. He doesn't have +1. There's a Dropper Lord. Is he going to do Queen Creep or just send him across? The German taxi build. That stasis triggered. He noticed it before. The queens are coming up. And the oracles may get some damage done, but the stalkers already on the run. Queens, a bit of joint pain off the... Hey! Get back! Stop flying away, you cowards! Brenda, just calm down. We haven't been able to fly for 15 years. It's actually been longer since the Brood War than it was since we... Susan, you're making me feel old now. Well, Robo Bay is on the way. Lurker Den. Okay, so no Swarm House, just rushing to Hive Tech Lurkers. There are 68 lings on the field. Nearly perfect. The Blink Stalkers fighting back. The Oracles will protect this base for now. What is this? A Sloverlord drop. Then again, it's just 1, so Overlord speed might be a bit much of an investment for that. Overlord, slowly but surely. Gonna try to circumvent the wall. Not sure if MaxPax noticed it. Should have been in vision range of one of the OVs, but what are you gonna do about it? Just building some shield batteries and cannons, possibly anticipating a tech switch. But right now, not entirely sure it's going to be Lurkers. Sloverlord is coming in. Stasis. If only it was Banelings. 3 queens caught in the stasis, but the Zerglings, and now Hydra's slithering forward. The Zerglings can take out, Photon Cannon. Gets into the main, +2 melee done. Adrenal Gland's on the way. Hydra's moving forward. But Reynor only has a tenuous army supply here. Has to be careful not to overextend before he has that Hive Tech army. And MaxPax so far, taking a few losses from extraneous things, but overall, securing his bases. Now, a very key point, he didn't go Templar. That's a Colossus. All right, now check that one off your bingo cards. But a Colossus is a much more mid-game option and is not particularly great against ranged Lurkers, which equal its range. Oh, the Zerglings! And also apparently not great against Zerglings. The Zerglings just tear it down from its spindly feet. Stasis catches some, not nearly enough. The Lurkers, he's gonna have to blink all the way out. But a lot of the Stalkers going to be eviscerated by this army. Ripped to shreds, I say. And MaxPax has made a critical blunder. One, skipping the Templar for Colossi. Two, getting caught out on the field. The Oracles won't save you. Your fancy disco balls don't have enough damage output for this. And now Reynor is just overrunning the field. A single Colossus will not stand up. And Reynor claims a 2-1 victory over MaxPax, who tried to mix it up and just gets spilled out onto the floor here. Reynor holding, like his lurker timings, decisive. The mutas were a lot of fun, but I think they slowed down the lurkers so much on King's Cove that Reynor didn't quite get the killing blow. But here we see on Ultra Love and on ley lines, getting the lurkers in quick and fast. That was profound. Is enough to keep MaxPax off balance and topple him in this decisive series. Reynor, the aggressor throughout, and MaxPax only barely able to hold on one game. So an interesting take on Protoss versus Zerg. And I mean, Reynor, the foremost expert on this entire matchup, on both sides of the story there. So really demonstrating it here today. I hope you enjoyed. And thank you to Masters Coliseum. You guys got the means of motivation. Be awesome if you could check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But otherwise, I hope I made your day just a little bit better. And I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. So I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Thanks for watching. Stay chill.
Hell, it's about time.